What if I told you that the most important part about losing fat is not getting into a calorie deficit? It's actually getting out of the calorie deficit. Let me paint a picture for you. Let's say you weigh 180 pounds and you want to weigh 150 pounds. So you start tracking your calories. You're eating more protein and you bumped your steps up from 5,000 per day to over 8,000 per day. Now what you're gonna find is that you're losing about a pound per week on average. This is the sweet spot for fat loss, and you can keep going at this rate for several weeks, 10 to 12 weeks. But then all of a sudden you hit a plateau. And when this plateau comes, you actually find you have to drop calories a little bit and you have to bump up your steps up to 9 or 10,000 in order to keep making progress at 1 pound per week. This is totally normal and it's part of the process. So you keep going and you keep going, and in 6 months, boom, you reach your goal of 150 pounds. And in 6 months, you reach your target weight. Cool. You can just stop tracking now, right? No, that is not how this works. And this is a huge mistake that people make when they're losing fat. If you go from doing all of the things to then doing none of the things, you're at a huge risk of gaining all that weight back. So what do you do instead? Well, this is where some experts might come in and say, you should do a reverse diet. It sounds fancy, reverse diet. Yeah, it sounds really good. But I have a feeling that was only created to confuse Gen Pop people like yourself. And something like a reverse diet may be a good fit for bodybuilders or professional athletes, but not for Karen down the street who struggled with yo-yo dieting all her life. So what do? You go into something called a maintenance phase. Now I know maintenance phase sounds elusive. Like, does this mean I should just be maintaining my weight? Like if I weigh 170 pounds and I go into a maintenance phase, does that mean I'm just gonna stay at 170 pounds? No, that's not what it means. It means that you are going to be eating at maintenance calories. But what happens with the scale is going to be very different depending on the person. So let's say in order to reach your goal body weight, you had to eat 1,500 calories per day. Well, your maintenance calories may look like 2,000 calories per day. That's just a rough estimate. So let's say you start eating that 2,000 calories consistently. Well, you may gain 3 pounds. You may gain 5 pounds. You may even gain 10 pounds in a maintenance phase. This doesn't necessarily mean you're doing anything wrong either. It doesn't mean you need to freak out and start slashing your calories. And the reason for this is simple. When you're at maintenance, you're going to be eating more food. Therefore, you're going to have more food volume in your gut and more water weight. And depending on how you hold on to water, which for myself in particular, I hold on to a lot of water weight, this can lead to you looking like you gained a bunch of weight on the scale. And even when you look in the mirror, you may notice that you're holding on to like a bit more water. And this is an important thing to think about, because then how do you know if you're actually at maintenance or if you're actually in a surplus and gaining the weight back? Well, this is where taking your waist measurement and photos is so important, because as long as that belly button waist measurement is the same, then you haven't actually gained any fat, and you can be assured that's just water weight, glycogen, and waste inside the body. And this is why I think it's so important for everyone to go through a maintenance phase. It's because that is how you actually learn to keep the weight off, well, the fat off long term. And without doing a maintenance phase, you run the risk of gaining the weight back and going back to your old habits. Because if you just go from doing all of the things to doing none of the things, you're just gonna need to go back into another calorie deficit next year. Hope this was helpful. If it was, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that good YouTube stuff, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.